What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So the market just closed roughly around 10 minutes ago. NIO went down 5.16%, 740 the low, 780 the high, and kind of low volume. So 58 million shares being traded. 87 is the average. Nothing coming out from the company officially, so no SEC filings, no press releases. Unofficially, we did see kind of some special edition of the Firefly being kind of demonstrated. So I think that might be good, but not really a good reason to buy NIO because of this. And then the only other thing that kind of came out was this. So NIO Group expands into Armenia. And I feel like this also isn't a crazy good catalyst to buy NIO because we've seen NIO do these sorts of expansions. That's with cooperation through local dealers, but I don't really feel Armenia has the infrastructure to accommodate for just EVs. And so I think generally this type of expansion isn't advantageous. Of course, I'm not saying NIO is wrong by doing it. I'm sure they have a good plan and clearly it's worthwhile to them, but I think they need to explain it a little bit to investors because even in the last earnings, they didn't really bring this up whatsoever. So let me know your general thoughts on that. I think overall though, with today being pretty much the first day since that gap of from their holidays in China, I was anticipating like a massive amount of rush of like all PRs, like good, bad, yeah, ugly. I was expecting so much, but to get pretty much this, so NIO expanding into Armenia and just some pictures of the Firefly, I don't really see that being crazy. So I'm rather disappointed in my opinion, but I think that's just expectations, right? If you have too high of expectations, things tend to be, I guess, disappointed essentially. So I think in reality, that in combination with just NIO's technicals, that is why it did go down. Shorts, they did hit it hard first thing. So they did increase 1.5 million shares first thing. So that's what really caused it to go down. And as per usual, during the pre-market, things were looking okay, and then once the market opened, it just tanked like crazy. So I'll go over that in a second, but shorts ultimately did return by the end of the day 813,000 shares. So again, there's different ways how to interpret this. By NIO being red and shorts returning kind of shows that today's red day wasn't justified, but 11.01% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 152.38 million shares overall being shorted. And as I've brought up in the past, there's more than 10 million shares available to be shorted, and it is fairly cheap to short, not promoting it, but technically, the fact that shorts aren't doubling down is rather optimistic if you ask me. Looking at the options though, 7.7 million in calls, 2.7 in puts, 47% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. So these ones stand out right here. So clearly 433,000 in premiums between 250 and 255, and then 770,000 between 255 and 3. So if we pop open the last one right there, just sort it based on premiums, it looks like it was a multi-leg transaction, more oriented towards being bearish, all of which looks like a October the 17th expiry date with variations between the $7 and $10 puts. So not really the best. So it looks like big money is now turning and anticipating NIO to really go down, which is rather odd. So again, I think just a lot of that could be linked to the technicals, possibly. Nothing from any analysts. So despite the break, we haven't really had anything from them. So this most recent monthly and quarterly numbers that they put out, we've seen and heard crickets from analysts. So it's kind of crazy, but aside from that, from the bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 750 to 8. So a good amount of optimism is still on the table. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 750. With tomorrow being Friday, just take note of this. This is the open interest. So best case scenario, it closes above 8 or possibly even 750 because we have 15,000 at that 750, 7,000 at that 7, 29,000 at that 8. I think it's kind of far-fetched to assume that we'll be above 850 by tomorrow, so I'm not even going to bring that up. But these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market, so you didn't really see all that much. 2 buys, 2 sells, nothing too crazy. Then these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So even on this exchange, there wasn't really that much activity. So shorts didn't really do all that much. Hedge funds weren't really trading as much as I would have anticipated. So I think a lot of that has to do with the technicals. So with it closing at 746, it is currently between this pivot and this S1. So 712 is going to be a strong support. 754 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point. So I'm looking at the 4-hour chart. So for day traders and swing traders, just kind of orient a lot of your buys and whatever else towards these. But moving over to the 1 day, this is where we did see some consolidation because NIO failed to get above that 783. And to be fully honest, I think the market was really hoping for NIO to get that nice gentle push to break it above that R1, and it gave it a lot of opportunities. Like a lot of stocks would not have lingered around this kind of price point for this long, but the market finally said, no, you're not breaking above this, you're not really doing too much, we're gonna have you consolidate. So I think with it closing as well below that 10-day moving average, it does signal that there might be a little bit further consolidation coming, unless there is some news. So let's say there's some crazy positive catalysts that they're sitting on, then you could see that come out. But yeah, unfortunately, not really all that much. Even for articles, nothing really crazy did come out. So comparing, for instance, today and yesterday's market position, you see a lot more willing sellers. So they just popped up out of nowhere. The willing buyers kind of did diminish as well. So you could see some potential consolidation to, let's say, that 716, possibly tomorrow. There seems to be a little bit of a gap right there. Not a crazy gap, the one that needs to be filled, but kind of not that much in actual buyers. So still, I feel like some consolidation is kind of due for the most part. Anytime a stock does fail to get above a key resistance level, you normally have some consolidation. But in all fairness, quickly looking here, you see like it's been lingering and pounding at that 783 range for a while. So almost about 4-5 days that it's been hitting that and not really getting above that. So I think in general, a little bit of consolidation is somewhat due. We'll just have to wait and see what comes out in the next little bit. Hopefully there is some more positive catalyst to really cause a nice push higher. But even if not, we had some consolidation in August and as well right here. And ultimately, after the consolidation, we move on higher. So we might be just entering into that type of period. So it might consolidate to that 716-ish range as what I mentioned. And then from there, who knows, we can really move higher, possibly as well with a China-EU deal for the tariffs, because that would be pretty good, right? NIO's been really struggling a little bit in Europe aside from the Firefly. So if the EU drops or reduces the tariffs similar to what happened in Canada, and yeah, you could easily see things ramp up very fast. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Give yourself a shout out if you did buy, if you sold, or what you did with NIO. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.